There's a lot of turmoil in the world today. A lot of people are pushing a view on others in a overly strong way. When I push a view and I'm aggressive or coming across aggressive or overly passionate, naturally you want to protect yourself because it comes across harsh, even if it's not intended that way. It's almost like putting another person in fear to conform. We may get confirmation, they may conform, but underlying that there'll be resentment and there won't be true change. To get a message across, the best way to be sustained is through softness, through love, through understanding. To do this, we must, even if we're passionate, we react to something. We must center ourselves, get in touch with how we're feeling within our hearts, and then present that feeling in a way that can be heard. It needs to be bathed in softness. That's the key forward. Then when there's change, there's understanding, because you can have a rational conversation and both people are calm. It's like if I give you a shove or if I'm coming across hard, you brace yourself for the impact. When I present a message or an idea bathed in softness, your walls can come down. You can receive the information. You have time to digest the information. Think of it yourself. You want to be understood. You want to understand yourself. You want others to understand you. You want to feel valued. And if a message is delivered in a hard way, you're not valued at all. You're not even seen. So there can be no good can come from that. It's about valuing everyone, including yourself. We must treat others how we want to be treated. It's quite simple. We all know this, but we get lost sometimes. So that softness is key, because we need to learn to nurture ourselves instead of projecting our ideas, instead of blaming others for how we feel. We must learn to take responsibility for how we feel 100% of the time. 100% responsible for our thoughts, feelings, and actions. Remember when I was young, I had times I thought I want to run away from everything, have no responsibility, no job, no worries. Little did I know it was the opposite of freedom. I discovered along the way that to be free, you have to be 100% accountable for yourself. That means I cannot blame my environment for how I'm thinking and feeling. If I blame my environment, then I have no capacity to change. I'm dependent on the environment around me for how I am. So if everything changes around me, I can change. I can be better if my environment allows me to be that way. It's not like that. By being responsible for your thoughts, feelings, and actions, you can say you're acknowledging that you have the capacity to change within yourself. And if you can truly change and start questioning ways within yourself where there's suffering, where there's resentment or frustration, if you can address these things and you can learn to overcome these traps, then you can encourage others to do the same. But it must start from within yourself first. You can't start outwardly, it has to start inwardly. So for that, whenever there's a thought that creates suffering or an emotion that creates suffering, question it. What percentage of your thoughts is real, would you say? 80%? 50%? 30%? The answer is 0. No thought's real. I'm not talking about the names of things. I'm talking about the thoughts within your mind that questions yourself, that says you're not good enough, You're not smart enough. You're not brave enough. It's all false. All of it. Any thought that creates suffering within you, challenge that thought. Don't blindly believe it. That's the only way forward. That's the only way to set ourselves free. You should question everything that doesn't serve us. It's like tracing thoughts. Like, it's interesting when you do try and trace a thought, often it'll take you to a different thought before you have a chance to see where the last one takes you. Because ultimately you'll see that it's hollow. It cannot be proven in any way, shape or form. It can't be proven. There's usually a sense of fear behind a thought. What if so-and-so thinks this? What if that? What if I don't make this team or don't do this? What if I fail at that? Fear is the magnetic force pulling you toward it. You have to question that fear. Question the thought and challenge the fear. Then it dissipates. You can learn to become more fearless. You can learn to become more empowered. If you don't challenge the fear or the thought, the cycle will repeat itself. And that leads to us blaming others, being on autopilot, blaming others for how we feel, how we think, projecting into the environment. There's a simpler way. And it starts with just questioning yourself, questioning. And it's hard sometimes because thoughts promote emotion, and the emotion promotes thought, and the cycle continues. But the start of breaking through this suffering, challenge the thought, the emotion will still come. It doesn't mean you've failed. It just takes time for the circuitry of the mind to change. There's a certain emotion attached to a thought. The first step is questioning that thought. And underlying that thought and that emotion, there can be pain. But under that, again, as you unravel, there'll be something else. There'll be joy. Then there may be pain again. But as you unravel and question more and more, you become more and more free. It makes sense. And the more free you become, the more access you have to yourself, to your heart. The softer you become, the more peaceful you become. This is the way forward. So when we react to an environment, it's okay to feel frustrated, angry. But then look at what your expectations are of others and yourself. That will reveal something. As you start to unravel your mind, your emotions, you start to have patience with yourself and others. You start understanding that the road is hard. Now, even when you're seeking, for myself, being on a spiritual journey for a lot of years, I was hard on myself, very hard on myself. What happens is you start unraveling, you start discovering, and while you're hard on yourself, you become hard on others, you have expectations of others as well. But as you start working through in my experience, you go, oh, yeah, I was too hard on myself. And you realize that the journey is not as easy as what you might think. You start having more patience for others. And instead of demanding they work through things, demanding they do this or they do that, you start nurturing them through. You start dropping your expectation, which puts pressure on them. Putting pressure on or expectation on another makes things harder for them, because most people are suffering because they have expectations on themselves. And these expectations aren't always met. So if your own expectation isn't met, then I feel worse about myself, putting more expectation on myself. And slowly you become more bogged down. Often when a child is suffering, the parents want the child to overcome and get through that suffering, of course. So they'll say, come on, hurry up, let it go, don't worry about this, don't worry about that. That's not addressing the issue. And often we want our child to overcome the pain or let it go, put it back, not bury it, because we feel their pain, we feel their suffering, so we want them to put it aside. So we stop suffering, they stop suffering. Or so it seems. But in actual fact, the way forward is to be patient. Let them speak, let them express, not just for children, for everyone. Let them unravel the way they're thinking, the way they're entrapped, the entrapments of their own thoughts. That will create opportunities to work, actually literally work through things and get a perspective that's healthy. So as we allow children to unravel, we must allow ourselves the same. Encouragement and nurturing is different than expectation. Expectation just adds weight to those around us and ourselves. We must be soft, patient. We must learn to nurture ourselves. This is the key step going forward. To nurture ourselves with work, for example. There's big expectations, timelines, deadlines, pushing everything, go, like 100 mile an hour. I know what it's like. But when we get home, we must slow down. We must slow down and become aware of our thoughts, our feelings. Often when we're suffering, we go 100 mile an hour. It's a distraction. We are avoiding ourselves. Even if it's just make a cup of tea, coffee, or if you're making dinner, or whatever you do, try and slow down. It'll allow you to become aware of your thoughts, aware of your feelings. You can write them down. You can reflect. Reflection is the key. You can reflect on how you're feeling. Get in touch with how you're feeling. That's honouring yourself. People feel they put all these targets ahead of themselves. Do the lawn, do the house, clean this, do that. And then I can have a rest. It's like you have to earn the rest every day. And there's that many chores that you must complete, tasks that you must complete before you earn your rest. It's hard to attain that, to get to that rest. If someone stands in the way, you project pain and frustration on them for blocking the opportunity for you to rest, for breaking your goals or your targets. But I would say you earn the rest just for being you. And if you get in touch with how you're feeling, you owe it to yourself to nurture yourself. Take time out. You have value just for being you, not for what you do. It's a reflection of of a number of things, how you see in yourself, your goals. It's a reflection of how you feel. Opportunities, that arise one way or another. But your work isn't who you are. The way forward is getting in touch with who you are, discovering who you are. You're far more amazing than you could imagine, trust me. We all have inner beauty. But not many of us take time to actually get in touch with that. It's that childlike aspect that we all recognise in other children. That's why it's important to listen to children, to hear what they're going through rather than say, come on, get through it. You can do this for children, you can do this for yourself. Learn to nurture yourself. Question your mind. See if there's any truth in what your thoughts are telling you. I guarantee you there's not. There's purity in everything, in my understanding, my belief. The fact that it's alive shows there's a divine aspect within everything. And if you don't take time out, and if you're suffering and you, without awareness, nurture, maintain negative thoughts, you're getting further away from the true you. And in that space, you can become more angry, more reactive. You have more suffering. Your thoughts can be darker. You're disconnected. Slowing down and nurturing yourself is getting connected again. And in between the suffering in your heart, there's pain. That has to be unraveled. But you must be patient. Step by step. Be vigilant. Because the destination is worth it. To feel more joy. To feel more peace. To have more patience. With yourself and others. Show others how to be. Encourage others to feel peace, discover peace. Encourage others to nurture themselves because you know how to nurture yourself. Be the example for everyone. Don't wait for everyone to shape your environment for you to be happy. Learn to shape your own environment within yourself. Instead of forcing others to change, encourage others to change because you've changed. Allow others to be curious of how you are and wanting to know how. How can you be peaceful in this time? We are not dependent on our environment. We are dependent on ourselves, on this. We have to discover ourselves. Be 100% responsible for our thoughts, feelings, actions. Be the first, not the last. Take the journey, have the courage to stand up first. That is an honour. That is the way forward.